Hey fan peeps, this is your podcast host Kunal here. I started this during the pandemic, and in this podcast I discuss my nerdy thoughts and hobbies with you, with the occasional special guest. From anime to Zeppelins, we talk about it all. Okay, alright. Well, today is a fun episode, as they all are. If you remember my good friend Andrew, who interviewed me for my trip to Japan. Andrew, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, Kunal?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm excited. I haven't really gotten to... Sometimes I feel like I say the same thing when I intro everybody for the podcast, but I don't feel like I've really... This is something I'm not terribly familiar on. And I'm actually really excited to get to know more about this for you, as I've known you for about like 5 years now, and even in just looking at like which is kind of crazy, right? It just flew by.
Crazy, yeah.
Half a decade. And I don't know too much about this part. Like, I've always been interested when you talk about it. So today's topic is cryptids, and we'll define it and everything. But I'm excited because I haven't really gotten to see this side of you too much. It's always been...
Lurking in the shadows, perhaps?
Honestly, yes. And it's like it's like lurking in the shadows, but like always smiling and waving whenever I see it too. It's like It's like lurking in the shadows, but like, hey, what's up? How's it going?
It's always friendly monster energy, a little menacing, a little social.
Just enough to keep it interesting, I feel. So I think it was within like the first couple times I met you, you had mentioned that you love cryptids specifically. And let's define cryptid real quick. It's when I looked it up, it was an animal whose existence or survival is disputed or unsubstantiated.
Yes.
And would you add anything to that, or...
Absolutely. So, that's one of my favorite things to teach people. That is the scientific definition of a cryptid. So, a cryptid could be anything from, your classic Bigfoot to sewer alligators. So, those sort of things are considered zoological cryptids. Here in, Appalachia, you hear about, panthers in the woods. Those are, considered cryptids. Or, sometimes people lose pet snakes or exotic animals and they just live in the wilderness now, but they're not confirmed by local DNR or wildlife management. Those are the scientific cryptids per se. But what people kind of associate, you'll see this a lot in our talk today. There's a difference between kind of the zoology, cryptozoology, and the fandom side of things. In kind of the fandom subculture, we've really broadened the definition to include hoaxes, folklore, myths, aliens, ghosts, really kind of any sort of anomaly that folks can talk about or that has a story or image to it. That's really been brought in, but yeah. So
dare I say a legend of sorts?
Exactly.
Okay, cool. So you also mentioned the alligators in the sewers. I remember hearing that all the time from it was probably a popular culture, but I always hear people talk about the alligators in the sewers in New York or something.
Classic example.
Right. Okay. So that's the kind of vein that we're talking about here today. Cool. By the way, I think an important distinction that I want to make, or maybe not distinction, but point I want to make, is that you're a full-fledged psychologist. Most people would be surprised to hear that they were also a cryptid enthusiast. Would you say?
Sure. That's loosely the term that I use, a cryptid enthusiast. I'm out in the woods, unfortunately, looking for Bigfoot, squatching. I like to pretend sometimes. I think that's fun.
Squatching. I love that. Yeah. That's an actual term.
Oh yeah, it's a verb.
Cool. I mean, do you find that people find that people are in general are juxtapositions and anomalies within themselves. Do you find that to be... Maybe my point is, do you have anything you want to add to that? Definitely from your perspective, just working with people in their mental health, you see they could be very, in one way, a certain kind of way, and then in another way, completely opposing. So I just, the reason I bring this up is it's very evidence-based in your day-to-day job, whereas this is not.
Yeah. We're talking like the difference between like the work I do, which is based in like a science and research, versus like,
Yeah.
cryptozoology. There are some people out there who would say, absolutely, this is a real science. I've seen Bigfoot. I hunt aliens on the daily basis, but yeah, like I always take like, I'm like one foot in the door with kind of like psychology and the power of human belief. Like I look at this very analytically.
Hmm.
And then the other half is just like, hey, it's like fun to believe. It's fun to think like, oh, out here is where like the Loch Ness monster dwells, or like there's this like ancient native cryptid or spirit out in these woods that you cannot say its name at midnight. Like I think that, you know, life wouldn't be very fun if we didn't have local folklore or imagination, or we can always go back to as to like stories mean something, or like were originally warnings or things to learn from before we understood what was actually going on. Sometimes I take a lot of that into like the stories I learn. But I suppose if nothing else, I double majored in creative writing. And yeah, I'd say the big common line for me
I keep
between
forgetting
that and
that too.
psychology,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I love stories. So that's kind of like how I resolve that cognitive dissonance.
Okay. No,
Fun and stories.
okay, good. Good. As you're talking, because as I was researching for this episode, a little bit of preparing for it, like it seemed like a lot of this naturally flows into mythology. And it's funnily enough, today actually my family's celebrating Diwali. I didn't tell you this.
Happy Diwali.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Like I'm going to the celebration later in like 7 hours. So it's very, very timely that we're doing this episode. And there's a part in the story that Diwali is celebrated. Hanuman, he builds a bridge to get to Ravan first so that Ram can defeat him and everything like that. What is talked about, what is often cited as an example by, you could probably say, extremists, but or whatnot. But I think that's a little, I don't know if that's accurate, but there is this part where they found what would have been the bridge from India to Lanka or Sri Lanka, and it doesn't match up with normal geology. So typically, what I'm saying is that like the rocks higher up are older than the rocks below, which doesn't
Oh
make
my
any
god.
sense, right? It doesn't make any geological sense, and so that leads credence to the myth of them actually constructing the bridge, and maybe just like sea levels rose after that, or it crumbled. So it's pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyhow, I wanted to share that because that's just very oddly timely, and uh,
Hmm.
yeah, I feel like, I mean, sure, this is more of a mythology that delves goes more into spirituality as well for Hinduism and whatnot, but I don't feel like they're separated. I feel like they're very, very much along the same lines.
Oh
Anyhow,
yeah. So much of this shares roots, and the anecdote you just shared kind of falls into that fun category of like, wow, this is like strange and mysterious, and we kind of don't understand it right now.
yeah, we don't have all the answers, and it's kind of, I often, and this is maybe jumping a little bit, but I often, I remember reading an article once by the guy who made the Dyson vacuum, and he's like, I don't like, I know it's a bit of a churn. I don't
No.
like, he's like, I don't like science fiction because it draws away from what we can do in science. And I'm like, dude, that's like half of science.
Yeah.
You can't have any, if you don't imagine it, well, it'll never come true.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
people, yeah, think of the space race, think of half of medical technology.
Hmm. We're talking about
Think
like
of like,
colonizing planets right now, which is like I think pretty Ray Bradbury. I'm pretty sure he wrote short
oh,
stories
yeah,
about this.
that sounds like him. I mean, hell, it's like all of Gundam as well at the same time.
Hmm. Yeah,
Um,
nerd culture.
Nerd culture, Star Trek, Star Wars, like you name it. There have been some mystery in writing and stories, imagination, myth that has been going on. So it's all intertwined very much.
Yeah.
So in keeping with that, how did you get into it? because it seems like that's pretty natural kind of jump from having creative writing background as well.
Sure, definitely. So it kind of takes multiple lines for me, which I've conveniently sorted out in our shared document. So, like, in my modern era, what I would say, and like, if you ever want to join the kind of cryptid community, the point of entry is going onto Cryptid Wiki and just scrolling at 3 a.m. and, being like,
Hell
oh, okay,
yes.
so this thing was cited in the Bridgewater Triangle. Wait, what the hell is the Bridgewater Triangle? Which I could educate you on some things about the Bridgewater Triangle. It's incredible. There's some deep lore there. But it's real rabbit hole energy. It's really popularized through a lot of podcasts, and they call it like dark YouTube.
I've seen some of it. It's spooky. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. So I'd say like my personal connection, like I think, 90s kids will understand. I growing up was like a real like animal dinosaur kid. That was kind of my like fun neurodivergence. And then, once you start with dinosaurs, that sometimes can leap into things like dragons or like mythology. And then I really got into like mythology. I was a huge Hercules kid for a while
Oh,
when the Disney
yeah.
movie was out.
I saw that movie way too many times, and I still love it so much. Yeah.
Oh, it's great. It's great. And it's got all kinds of fun beasties in it.
Hmm.
But then, the Game Boys came out, and so did Pokemon, and the lesser known game. Well, I mean, not lesser known if you're in the know, but like Dragon Quest had a
Oh
side
yeah.
series, Dragon Quest Monsters, where you could collect and battle the monsters.
They were
Like,
trying to compete with, I guess, Nintendo at that point, just to try and make something.
yeah, they were
Yeah.
hopping on the monster catching game trend.
Hmm.
I was obsessed with that as a kid, and
I think I knew
you
someone
know,
that played it actually.
hmm when we were doing arts and crafts in kindergarten, I'd be like making a Santa Claus with the plate, but giving him like teeth and monster eyes and stuff. And like, how can I make this into some sort of creature or monster? So there's kind of that origin story to it. I grew up around it, so I could tell you a fair bit about Braxy, or it was originally like when I was growing up, we called it the green monster. She's kind of our local cryptid, an alien visitor. And there was
For
like
where? Sorry.
for Braxton County, West Virginia.
Okay, gotcha, gotcha.
Originally sighted in Flatwoods, sometimes called the Flatwoods Monster. Yeah, we had like lanterns and festivals and things just centered around this phenomena. It's a little vestige of local culture. So, like, when I get into more subcultural things too, I would say this kind of connects me and a lot of the other community out there. I think at the end of the day, folks who are really into cryptids, we're all a bunch of weirdos. So,
Yeah, we're not
and
familiar
it's,
with that at all at this channel.
yeah, not in the least bit. None of your
No, not.
audience can relate.
Yeah, I don't think. I think we should just cancel it now. But anyhow, tell us more about this quote unquote weirdo. A whole bunch.
Absolutely, yeah. So,
Cool.
like, something that's really kind of evolved with like modern cryptid enthusiasm is it's a very queer space. It's like a very kind of like countercultural. Like I was the goth, the emo kid growing up. I was like the one gay kid at my school. I was like insert blank. It follows a lot of the same kind of trajectory of like, you know, Disney villains, for instance, are very gay, and in the queer community, we latch on to them, right? And that kind of comes from a place of like feeling ostracized or like feeling like, people kind of look at you as some sort of anomaly, or it's like growing up being called the weird kid myself, like I kind of identified more with like that weird misunderstood creature. I think this is like a really common kind of underlying thing for folks, right?
I actually didn't. So I wanted you to say this before I said this part. Everything you said fits with how I've known you in these past 5 years. I didn't know you were genderqueer until now.
Yeah.
You never really said it, and that's totally fine. I mean, it was never like I'm not mad at you for like how dare you not say this. I mean, I've definitely shared with you that I'm not 100% straight, and I definitely fall in the gender queer LGBTQIA bracket as well. So that is some cool solidarity right there. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
It's always
so yeah,
something like I would compare it to, again, I might reference this a lot today,
please
like the
do.
cryptid kind of lurking the shadows. I keep it close to my heart. It's not something that I'm always very public about. I still generally use he, him pronouns and present largely male, but I also flourish it up. I like color, I like floral patterns and things. So I guess like connecting that back to my own original
Mhm.
kind of backstory. Like I grew up in West Virginia, heart of Appalachia. Like we are the state that is fully like in the Appalachian mountain range, and you'll see me calling it Appalachia a lot. We swear by that pronunciation,
I
even though
kind
the
of like it.
northern, yeah,
I could like it better.
call it Appalachia. We throw in Appalachia.
Oh,
That's how to remember it.
oh my gosh, I can't forget that now.
Sure. But like the way that I look at it now, growing up in a really like gendered environment, like when I went to school, if you presented or identified as male, you were kind of expected to be driving four wheelers out in the woods, going deer hunting, and like, being in wood shop, all that really like stereotypical male shit. And like, I was not that kid. I was like, interested in like playing my ocarina and writing poetry and you know
Fuck
I
yeah, man. Fuck yeah.
yeah, I liked reading books and playing my Game Boy, and yeah, that came across as very weird to a lot of my peers, and it's not weird now. The beautiful thing,
It's cool now. Yeah.
yeah, I think that a lot of us have come to like accept it. I think that as the generations have gone on, the stuff that we did in high school that was like weird or ostracized then is like kind of cool now. So like, cryptic culture has like a lot of fashion elements to it. Like you've seen probably the Mothman gowns and
I
the
definitely have
graphic art.
seen. I've seen Mothman has definitely been one that I definitely know. We were going to talk about this later, but I'll just bring it up now because it's Mothman. But like, there's this show called Inside Job, and one of my favorite comedians, Ron Funches, voices him, and he goes like, "Hi everybody, my name's Mothman. I'm a Mothman," and he leads the support group in the show. So he's definitely one I've heard of outside of there as well. And I think he probably shows up in Gravity Falls and other shows that are similar later on.
Hmm.
Yeah, but getting to your point earlier about like things that we did then, and I say we as in people who are ostracized or who were ostracized or who were like, told that that was pejoratively gay or stupid or
Hmm.
nerdy and stuff like that. Now it's cool. I always give the example of you watched anime as a kid back then, you kept it quiet, and then now if you tell people you watch anime and and they ask you like if you say My Hero Academia, they're like, "Oh, what a poser! You're not even watching real anime now." So it's like so weird for us to
Yeah.
come into the show now and see kids be like, "Oh, you're not even watching like the good anime." I'm like, "Fuck off, man! I was there. I I walked so you could run, kiddo. So stop it."
Hmm.
But it is a
Complete
it's a lot
complete
more.
tangent.
Oh
I
yeah,
I
go
love
for it.
Avatar, and Avatar takes that kind of space of it, like, is it anime? Is it not anime? And I think that
Right.
could have a whole debate. But we went to Avatar: The Last Airbender trivia at a
Oh,
bar once.
I love it.
It was I was excited, and also it brought me great pain because like I was surrounded by like a lot younger folks who apparently know the show better than I do, and it's
Oh,
like, damn, I thought I knew the deep lore, but here we are.
it is always like that's where trivia really gets you on stuff that you love. You have to really, really, really like you had studied for it when it comes to
Yeah.
that. And then also sometimes it just depends on the day. You could really just be like the. Do you remember any of the deep cuts that they got you with? If you don't mind
Oh
sharing.
man. It's like on the level of like what did Sokka say in response to this line in episode 14?
Oh my god. So it's like okay, comic book nerd guy level of stuff. Okay.
Yeah, it felt like I
Okay.
needed to review and rewatch, do like a training arc before this. It was
Oh
insane.
man. Remembering like specific quotes like that, it's so hit or miss. But I mean, I guess that's the
Hmm.
whole point of trivia. But I get that though because a lot of those kids were super like we it was 2003, so it's actually 22 years ago at this point. And I saw it in I well, I've already talked about this in 2 episodes, but I saw it much later. And you know, yeah, it's different. We had that to answer your question, I think it's very much spiritual anime
Hmm.
where it's like it's technically not anime, but it's the the spiritual cousin of it and
Yeah,
and whatnot.
clearly inspired, and
Oh,
also it draws
100%.
influence. Yeah, it's one of the. I mean, I'd have to do more research to truly say this, but from my understanding, they actually consult with actual Asian people, and
From
anything they
definitely
pull
from what I
from.
saw. Different from what
Yeah,
I saw. It was actually funny you bring up that point specifically. I went to the convention recently. I was talking to you off air about this and saw the voice actor for Ash Ketchum. I saw like part of the Avatar cast that was there, and so it was Azula and Iroh that were at a panel, and they were being asked like, would you consider coming back from the for the new show? And they're like, we would love to, but she's like, we're kind of torn because we would love to, but we want more Asian casting to be done. Which
yeah,
and they're both saying like we were surprised it didn't happen the first time and whatnot. So and I find it I honestly kind of in the same boat with them. I was like I would love for them to come back as well, but like their voices are so distinct that it would
hmm,
almost take away from it in the first place. So
sure,
um yeah. Yeah, I don't remember where we were going from that part, but
yeah. We kind of jumped
uh
off of
we
subculture and
oh
like
and right, like
being the weird kid.
right. Thank you. You have this point out here about hillbilly versus redneck. You wanted
Sure.
to bring that back. I guess this is more concerning about your time in Appalachia.
Yeah. So I'll say, like, with modern kind of like paranormal cryptid subculture, something kind of beautiful has started to happen. So I think that with the advent of the internet and, you know, subreddits and things, so I'll divert a little bit into crypto tourism, which is becoming very much of a thing. Like these days, every state almost has like, every state has a state bird or state flower.
Mm-hmm.
There's also state cryptids. They're not
I was
official.
I was just about to ask, is there a state cryptid? Okay, cool.
Yeah. In your case, it would be the Missouri Monster or Momo, who is a very smelly Bigfoot.
Oh my god, his name is Momo. Their name is Momo. That's
Yeah.
hilarious.
Oh, look it up sometime. It's a sight to behold.
Is said cryptid considered a family of the Sasquatch, or like do we know, or what's the deal on that? I'm interested now.
Yeah. So, like in taxonomy, yeah, it's kind of a permutation of the Sasquatch, the skunk ape. That's another fun little thing. Like, in terms of broad categories, like almost every state has a Sasquatch. Many states, especially the ones that have like lakes or oceans, have like lake monsters or like derivations of Nessie. So, like, over here, closer to Virginia, we're near the Chesapeake, so Chessie is a cryptid out there.
Oh, cool.
um,
Okay, so everybody's got
yeah.
their own little version. It's much more expansive than we think. Then, okay.
Oh yeah, yeah. Ghost dogs, dogmen, those are common ones. Goatmen, and then really, throughout the United States, there's still a lot of like native folklore, and what's kind of funny, a lot of things that folks refer to as modern cryptids are actually just like native myths or like spirits from classical native religions and things that have
That's
kind of
cool.
just gotten shaped. You can see in some relationships some interesting dynamics. So one of my favorite cryptids is the snallygaster, and
You've talked about this before. Remind me real quick.
yeah, so the snallygaster, I love it because it's just weird as can be. It is essentially a dragon that has kind of the build of Charizard, so like long neck, pop belly, kind of weird wings and things. It has one eye. It has like a bird beak, and out of that bird beak are protruding just tentacles. So it's got this weird, almost Lovecraftian vibe to it.
Wow.
But what's neat about the Snallygaster, this was like a classical hoax cryptid. It was like being portrayed in the newspapers, and people were like, "Yeah, I saw the Snallygaster over here the other day. It was asleep in my moonshine still." Has a penchant for alcohol. That's one way you can catch it. But the word Snallygaster is derived from like a German word, Schnellergeist, which is like fast spirit.
Oh, okay.
And one interesting thing about it is it has a rivalry with another cryptid of the Frederick County, Maryland area called the Dwyo, which is like a dogman, wolfman kind of cryptid with a huge bushy tail. And the Dwyo's name is like derived from a classic like Native American term. So in that you can kind of see like, oh,
Okay.
okay, this is like the German settlers interacting with the natives who were in the area at the time. And it's so interesting, like seeing how things kind of evolve. Their original source, it's the game of telephone, like you see in a lot of history books.
It's when you
Um,
go to certain parts of like a country that has a common myth, keyword being common, every village tells it differently. So
exactly.
it's the same idea. I follow you completely. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess side tangents aside, you're asking about the hillbilly versus redneck part.
I was, but I
Every
like the tangent. So yeah.
Yeah, every state has a cryptid. In terms of my state, like I brought up how it was often pretty isolating as like somebody in the queer community growing up being like nerdier. At the time, I suspected I had ADHD. Now I know I have ADHD. Um,
Congrats.
thank you, thank you. Late diagnosis, gang, rise up.
Word.
But like,
Right, right there with you.
I wrote this in the notes as like our bat signal looks like Mothman. You just shine that in the sky, and all of us weirdos from Appalachian congregate. Like it's been a connecting source for a lot of us to kind of unite and be like, hey, yeah, I hold this identity as somebody who grew up like, I call my parents mama and papa, or grandparents, I should say. And I grew up around like ramp dinners and like things like that, like real Southern Appalachian sort of things. But also, I was the kid I just described myself as, like not
Right.
fully fitting the stereotype. So, something fun that I've seen some of my friends do is like really distinguish what is a hillbilly versus a redneck. And hillbilly, in some ways, is like kind of what I just described. It's like,
Hmm.
okay, yeah, I grew up in the South, but like, I'm not racist. I want people to exist in my state and I want them to feel welcome here.
Yeah.
And I even have like some issue with the term redneck per se, because originally it was like referring to coal miners and folks wearing the red scarves in the mines.
I think I heard something about that too. Like it became white people getting sunburn, but that was a different thing. Yeah.
Sure, I can
Yeah.
see that too. Same thing with the cryptids. Words and taxonomies, they congregate, evolve over time.
Yeah, they do.
But yeah, the way that I've seen it referred is like differentiating between I come from the South, I'm proud of certain parts of my culture, but like I stand against a lot of the backwards sort of views and like politics, things folks might take with like the redneck label. Like I don't identify with a lot of that.
Yeah, I think there's this misunderstanding too that like how do I want to say this? It's othering that happens with I saw a video. I think the best way to describe it is like a video I just saw. It's of this guy talking at a town hall meeting and he was talking about choosing the next like how these people, how these politicians were choosing the next enemy. Currently, unfortunately, it's trans
Hmm.
people.
Yeah,
And 15 years ago, it was gay people getting married. And typically, when this happens, when you other a society, a group of people, they do they choose to do the opposite of everything that said othering the other risers. I don't have a proper term for it here.
sure.
Um, so those who other them, they like, okay, well, we're gonna do everything completely different. It's like, I mean, like, I no, I hate all of the oppressive laws, but I still love toasted ravioli. Like, I still want to have
Yeah,
that every once in a while. Like, it's not that I don't know, want to go full vegan or something, or just want to go completely the other direction. Like, I want to be part of the community. I just also want to have toasted ravioli. But like, when you do this to me, it's like I want to go completely the other way. Whereas like
hmm,
now it's more normalized for, well, at least in some states, queer people to be married, and now, just worry about their flowers being eaten by deer. I don't know. Like,
yeah, for
just
sure.
never live a normal life is what I'm saying. So anyhow,
Yeah,
I hope that
and I
leads
I
clear is what you're
honestly
saying.
love, yeah, I honestly love you bring up. I mean, not only the toasted ravioli bit, that stuff's great, but like I really see it as like, finding our place on the state flag in a way. It's like, hey, I like all this stuff too. And in your case, it'd be like, this is my St. Louis. Your St. Louis might be very different, but like when you try to pull it towards yours, I'm still going to hold on to the parts of it that I like and show
Yeah,
you what parts make up my experience too. I'd say, the cryptid like queer scene works very similarly. Like we can't deny where we grew up and the things that we take from it. And also, it's like we can embrace it and shape it into the way that we want it to be shaped, like how we define ourselves.
it's the whole point of growing and changing. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's
No
where.
society is a monolith, right?
No, it can't be. It'd be boring as hell. Doesn't make any sense, honestly, for it to be like that. That's why. Yeah, yeah, I got nothing to add to that. You also made this point. In the vein of everything we're talking about, you had this point here about JD Vance. Do you want to talk about
Oh my
that?
god. I'll keep it brief there. Like,
Okay.
I have not personally watched like Hillbilly Elegy. I have avoided it like the plague. I have heard it described as like poverty porn.
Oof.
And in
Gotcha.
my state, West Virginia, like it's it's pretty polarizing because,
About
I think that he is platforming on that right now. But a lot of us don't really see him as like being legit with the same way we grew up, and he came with a lot of advantages, and it's a lot. It's a lot. So I wrote that down
not a
there.
fan is what we're saying. I gotcha.
Yeah, no, not a fan. Even a lot of folks who might vote more conservatively dislike that movie and book.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with him. I don't even think JD Vance knows what's up with him. So
Uh,
that's okay. Um,
sure, he could
in
do with a
that
little bit more soul food, calm his thoughts, figure out his mind here.
for real, or just his eyebrows, if anything. My God, how much do you actually believe in cryptids? And I feel specifically, what's the good question? What's the distinction between? You mentioned this before: fandom versus squatchers.
Yeah, for sure. So this kind of gets into what we talked about moments ago about my stance as a psychologist who also really enjoys like the paranormal. Kind of the modern scene with this kind of subculture, as you said, is kind of broken between kind of like horror enthusiasts or like folks who like strange, unusual lore versus like we were talking off air earlier about like how people can like ghosts but not be on the taps team.
Right.
I got the dog in the background.
Oh,
Apologize
that's
about that.
that's okay. It's all good. So
Um,
like you're like ghost enthusiast, but not the Taps Ghost Hunters gang, is what you're saying.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And like, there's also a difference between owning a spirit box and going into like a spooky place in the middle of the night and kind of like doing it for fun or being like, I don't know if I fully believe this, but it's fun to do this and I'm enjoying it. Versus like, I have undeniable proof. Here are the pictures of the spirit orbs. I have met Zach Bagans. and we shared tea once.
Wait, did you actually do that or no?
No, no, no.
Okay.
I would fucking love that Kunal though. Like that
I was gonna
man,
say, like,
he is a cryptid unto himself.
I think I won't ask you to do it, but I know he does like he have a certain voice and stuff like that from what I remember. But
Yeah,
yeah,
he kind of has this strange tone. And could this be evidence of a spirit? It's like kind of puts that on a little bit.
okay. I really was not okay. I'm happy you did it, but I want you to know you were not pressured to do that.
Dude, I'll always whip out the bagel bites.
Oh my god. Okay, cool. In that same vein, like, so it's more for a fun time, like going to festivals, right? So it's pretty much
Yeah,
it's pretty much a convention, like how it worked for a lot of things.
absolutely. So like I've done the thing before, like so when I was still living in Louisville, that's the local cryptid there is like the Poplic monster. He's a goat man that lives under a spooky train trestle, and I went
Fuck
out to
yeah.
go check that out because it's cool to visit a spooky site and kind of see like, oh, okay, this place is pretty creepy. I can see why people think that this monster is out here, or like I see this thing about this that makes sense based on the story that I heard. So like I mentioned crypto tourism there, like
Hmm.
that definitely falls in that vein. I see it as like, there's like a lot of side benefits. So like when I do that sort of thing, I typically get to go on a fun hike or a walk. I get to learn local history. I got to like see different sites, have fun, kind of connect with that thrill. And as a psychologist, I'm always interested in like why people believe that this thing is real, right? Or
Yeah.
like the roots of these sort of beliefs, what they really meant for the people at the time. So yeah, I think there's a very clear difference between somebody whom might make Mothman fan art versus somebody out there like mountain monsters style in the middle of the
Yeah.
woods casting their Bigfoot prints and things. You can really see that at the
Yeah.
festivals, and I think convention is a good vibe to describe it. So like the crowd will be like very colorful. So I went to the Mothman Festival with my partner here recently,
Hell yeah.
and it's like, yeah, hell yeah. It's a great crowd. Very weird. A lot of black, a lot of goth, a lot of very queer, countercultural vibes. And then the panels that they do are kind of the more squatchy people, which is very interesting. And they're talking about like, photographic evidence that they have had or like how this connects to another thing. And I think that there's certainly people out there in the crowd who really buy into that. And I mean, more power to them. I think we live a
Right.
short life, gotta chase things, gotta
Yeah.
like invest ourselves in things somehow. But I would say like the vast majority goes to those sort of panels for fun. Not like it's not like a class to them, but there certainly are people who see it as a class, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Oh, that makes total sense. I mean, I'm trying to like I see it. I'm trying to put it into words, but when I've gone to conventions and you go to panels, there are people there who are now the problem more there is like the whole deal with like a parapsychology relationship that they have
Mm-hmm.
with performers or writers, etc. There are people like me that I would be lying to say if I didn't get like a chance to hang out with some of those writers and actors, I would take it up in a heartbeat.
Sure.
But I also try to remind myself, I'm like, okay, they're here to talk about a show that they were a part of, a production they were a part of that they made money off of. That was a job. It was a job. They
Mm-hmm.
may have loved it. They may have not loved it, but they did it for money or they did it for their passion and whatnot. And there are people there who kind of get up there and sometimes don't separate reality from fiction, and it can be very cringe where
Mm-hmm.
they don't know how to ask proper questions too, which is probably what I'm trying to get at too. It's like,
Sure.
were you upset about this when this happened? And they're like, Yeah. I mean, I don't know what you want from me, man. So, and then sometimes we're like, you get a really good question where it's like, hey, I heard about this. What did you think about this? And everything like actually getting their perspective on something is actually a
Yeah,
lot more interesting than just being like, I don't know. Sometimes it's hard to ask questions on that. Like, the pressure's on and
I
whatnot.
agree.
Yeah,
Sure. And I almost even want to like embrace that like 1% of the crowd too. Cause I mean, whenever we throw things like conventions or like these cryptid folklore festivals, like it really is kind of like a safe space for like people to be themselves. We're all weirdos at the end of the day, and maybe that
100%.
looks differently for each of us, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But it kind of feels to me in a way of like sitting down at Thanksgiving dinner and everybody has that weird uncle whom we still embrace nonetheless.
Because we have to.
We have to, and we can also take something from it. Like a lot of this
Yeah,
cryptid folklore stuff would not exist if it weren't for folks like the Mountain Monsters gang or like Taps or Ghost Adventures or really you could name any number of examples. So it's kind of like acknowledging original authorship in some strange way.
no, I know what you mean. Because like it's you both of you have the commonality of liking this subject.
Mm-hmm.
However, and however much and however whatever kind you like is different, but nonetheless, you're united in that front, and I
Mm-hmm.
can respect that. So yeah,
Yeah.
cool. So we've definitely talked about Venn diagrams of where you fall on it, like where I almost feel goofy asking you this, but I want a kind of summation of where your personal take is. So, what is your
Yes.
personal take on the cryptid ness?
Yeah.
That's a word today.
That is the word today. We're Sesame Street. Here's your word of the day. Yeah, I've kind of skirted around that, so thanks for getting it from me in direct language. The
Sure.
line that I give people is I have a real X-Files kind of view on it, where it's like, I want to believe. And that want to believe comes from a place of like, I think life is more fun when we kind of like embrace imagination. So
Oh
like
yeah.
yeah, I'm not going out there and creating like polymer casts of footprints in the woods, but I am going to know a lot about it. And I am going to like go into my rabbit hole at the middle of the night and being like, ooh, okay, was this a footprint or was this just like some sort of strange dog, right? So I like to engage with the thought. Sometimes, whenever I do this stuff and this kind of shares a common lens of like tarot and witchcraft, which I've also taken like a hyperfixation to at certain points in my life.
Yeah, we've hung out a
It's
couple
like,
times, and you've done the cards for me, and you've also like you have the rocks too. I forget what they are.
yeah, I've
Yeah,
got runes, I've got the crystals, and like,
I meant to say runes. Yeah.
yeah, I own all that stuff.
Hmm.
But what I really like to take, so there's a lot of kind of like practicing witches and Wiccans out there whom really more so emphasize your own projection. So, like, what's cool, this is like another fun psychologist paranormal overlap. The Wiccan practice of reading tarot cards kind of matters more about like giving your own interpretation of the card in reference to like what's going on in your life. And guess what? That overlaps with a lot of projective tests that I give in my job. So, like the Rorschach is a
Hmm.
classic example. The thematic apperception test. That's people taking ambiguous stimuli or like certain stimuli and projecting onto it what they see. And then when we take that projection and connect it to what they're thinking and feeling in the moment or like what kind of era of their life they're going through, that's where like the information comes out. Like, that's where the
Yeah.
self expression lies.
It's like
So,
illustrating your thoughts in a way that makes it easier for you.
exactly, yeah.
Okay, yeah. And if something doesn't hit you, it doesn't hit you. But yeah, go ahead.
Mhm. So I take like a lot of cryptid lore in a similar fashion, where it's like, all right, I know that at the end of the day, here's a fun little fact. A lot of the famous cryptids are owls or large birds. So like I brought up Mothman.
Probably.
I've brought
Yeah.
up the Flatwoods Monster. Like a really common explanation is like it's an owl. Huge eyes or
Right.
something common between those. Owls sometimes make very strange poses with their wings. So like
Maybe the
with
shadow.
Raxi, yes. With
Yeah.
Raxi, she's kind of got this helmet that's shaped like a teardrop, and like an owl that is kind of like spanning its wings upward could easily look like that. So I can both embrace the fact that there's likely a scientific explanation, and also it's like it still kind of lives in our hearts, right? Like there's a reason why people latch on to scary stories or like mass hysteria happens. And exploring that and like what that means, why is it culturally significant to the people of the place that it surrounds, like that stuff is fascinating to me. So like it's just a fun avenue for thought, I would say, at the end of the day.
Yeah. I love that. I got
Yeah.
nothing to add. I feel like this is the best part to, because we were talking about fun, and what better way to
Yeah.
experience your fun with popular culture. So I definitely want to talk about, you've already mentioned the X Files,
Hmm.
and which is a great example of anyone who's alive in the last 30 years will love that show. That show is fundamental for so much that we have today, and paranormal shows. I would even say probably bridged a lot of gaps between that and fantasy based shows like Charmed, Supernatural, etc., etc.
Right.
Who doesn't love Scully and Mulder?
Hmm.
Another great example that I think is really good and not as existential, shall we say, is Gravity Falls, which is a show that
Ah,
that you and I kind of bonded over too around the same time, if I
oh
remember
yeah.
around like right during COVID. I think when we first met each other,
Hmm.
and or actually we hadn't even met in person yet. We were still playing D&D online.
Yep.
Um, yeah, that's
Great
how we
entry
became.
point.
Yeah, yeah, and it's such a well. The previous episode was done on the Owl House, so the same. So if you remember that episode, we talked about one of the creators, Alex Hirsch, who this was his baby. Gravity Falls was very much his baby, and the Owl House he collaborated on.
Hmm.
So it's a great show for that brings in all the animals, cryptids that we've been talking about, and even more, and what it's like hanging out in the Pacific Northwest. So there's tons of hiking, there's tons of
Hmm.
wildlife, there's tons of lore, also with like the Native American legends that come into that too. And it's a really great show if you want to get like kind of get your kids involved into it, or if you just want to enjoy it for yourself because it has a lot of adult humor into it that's just kind of hidden there.
Yeah. The writing
There,
holds up.
yes,
We're doing
it
it's a
does.
rewatch for me, but my partner has not watched Gravity Falls, and like right
Oh,
now, as we're in October, we're watching Gravity Falls. It
oh,
was
beautiful.
what we chose to follow up Over the Garden Wall with.
Oh, that's another show. That show, I don't even know what to think of that show sometimes. It is just a dream.
It is.
Like a fever dream of a show. It's like what, 10 episodes or something like that?
10
Something
episodes of bliss.
of just Shia LaBeouf. Sorry, not Shia LaBeouf. Frodo.
Frodo Baggins.
Frodo Baggins is the main voice actor. I forgot who his brother is, but his brother is hilarious.
Yeah,
And everyone should have some of his brother in our heart because he is just like no one else can pull off a tea kettle and have an adventure. Um,
absolutely.
Go look it up. Yeah, I didn't know your partner was up for watching Gravity Falls. That's awesome. I'm so happy to hear that.
It's been
I
fun watching that show and Over the Garden Wall because we both have similar dynamics to the main characters. So we're just like looking at each other on the couch, and I'm like, I think I'm Wirt, and you're absolutely Greg. I think I'm Dipper, and you are Mabel for sure.
I mean, I need to do a Gravity Falls episode because there's so much in there that is kind of ridiculously awesome. From the secrets that go on, the characters that they introduce, that they don't just throw, they plan this out from start to finish. Like there's some
Hmm.
on your rewatch, I'm sure you've noticed like people in the background that you're like, oh, they show up in another episode. like down
Yeah.
here. Like they haven't been formally introduced, but they're here.
Hmm.
So it's cool. It's just a really good show. Check that out. The X Files. I mean, that's like a whole 10-part series of a podcast, but
Yeah.
it's much more existential, much more. I feel pessimistic. The reason why I like Gravity Falls and then one show we're about to talk about, which is Dawn to Dawn, it's only pessimistic. And it's government conspiracies and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong, like those happen, but it's a bit of a downer.
Hmm.
It's not as, in my opinion, not as balanced as I would like it to be. But that's okay. That's the X Files. It's still a classic.
Oh yeah, it has its appeal. It's
Yes.
a show of its time.
Oh yeah, tremendously. I was actually, this is a weird side anecdote, but like I was getting my internet changed, and the agent they send it, the officer they sent in to come and like fix it for me. We were just kind of casually, very very talkative. It was nice interaction. They were talking about rewatching the X Files, and while they're like, just shows you how TV has changed to streaming. A lot of the side characters are like, say if they go to a coffee shop or they are walking
Hmm.
around a town, it often ends up being some of the same actors. Um, think of this is before streaming, so it's streaming and before the internet. So like there are people that show in and this side characters who have been there in like 4 other episodes playing a different character with
Oh
like
my
this
God,
with
yeah.
like the same haircut, and so they're it's just kind of goofy.
Yeah,
Um,
things that you would not notice over the course of a season unless you're watching carefully, but you do notice when you are binging it back to back.
exactly, because like I mean that's how it worked in the 80s and 90s and well before that. It's just like you did something and then they might talk about it later. They might not.
Hmm.
Like it's just kind of thrown away or thrown to the side. Who knows? That's just a fun little thing that happens. Don to Don, which
Oh,
I
love
don't
it.
like, has to be its own 20-part episode because
Hmm.
I was talking to a friend about that. Aside from yourself and your partner, but like it is such a fresh take on anime, which I did not know that they could still do.
Hmm.
Where like they take all the tropes. I don't want to say they turn them on their head, but they look at them differently.
They do.
And I don't even know how to fully. I would love to hear your thoughts on that, if you don't mind, just briefly.
There's like a great Mother's Basement episode on Danadan and like how it's just such a genre blending experiment because like 1 minute it's like a love story. It's like pulling from more shojo, and then all of a sudden, oh, there's an alien here, and we have to fight it, and now it's amped up to shonen levels, and we are supernatural. But then, like after that, it's a gag manga because now all these
100%.
like crazy kids are fighting, and ugh, there's
That's
like it just ended on the mecha stuff.
I know
It's
it, and I was so
so fun.
happy. And they threw that in at the last like 3 episodes too. I was like, okay, I'm down.
Yeah.
That was like he even has the backpack was hilarious. I loved that part too. It really
Hmm.
spoke to my inner mech Gundam side, and I was like, yo, it's very like Don to Don is a very balanced show, and that's its only. If I say too much more, we'll have to do like a whole hour on it at least.
We will
But
easily.
it's a great way of. The reason I bring it up in these points is there is they do a great job of like Okarun, the main character, reads a lot of. I don't even know if you'd say cryptid.
Like occult magazines.
Yeah, I think that's more accurate. And they end up facing like a version of what he's read, and because he's been
Hmm.
imbibed with certain spiritual powders, not by his own accord,
Hmm.
but honestly just by being at the wrong place at the wrong time, um,
Yep.
he he is actually becomes instrumental in dealing with everything. It's the like,
Yeah.
and every inner nerd is just so fucking happy to see that. Like, finally, I get to use all this useless knowledge that no one likes.
Absolutely. And honestly, like Dandadan is a great example of the community we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I love and how each subsequent arc they introduce a new kid to the party who has like a new niche interest, and they're all kind of brought together by like this shared admission like, hey, I really buy into this one weird thing, and so do you. And I mean, first it comes in that cute little romantic clash. It's like, yeah, aliens, yeah, of course those are real, but ghosts. And then, we're kind of brought over to like both sides. Like, the first episode or so, it's like, okay, I believe in ghosts now. One took my balls. I believe in aliens now. I was abducted. It almost like
I'm still
terrible
looking.
things almost happened.
It's like yeah, that is another thing too. Like I had another friend say that it's a very feminist show because it shows getting re-empowered from. When I say this, it's going to sound worse than it is, but it's not great either. Okay, so just a quick aside. This part was a little hard for me to talk about. Um, Andrew and I talked about it a little bit afterwards that we really wanted to hit this point home. Neither of us endorsed the rape fantasy, and I think we make that clear. I also want to add that it was difficult to talk about because I one didn't want to. It's sensitive material, and two, I didn't want to spoil too much of the show. At the same time, wanted to get that point across. Back to the episode, but a near like prevented sexual assault,
Sure.
and it's how it is stopped, how it is how their characters reclaim themselves that way, and how
Hmm.
they're fully changed after it in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And I want to like take ownership of that
Sure.
episode. Like, I think that when you deal with contents like sexual assault, especially in anime, so much anime completely butchers it. Like Goblin
God.
Slayer, the first episode is a great example.
Ugh.
It's a serviceable show enough, but it
Mm.
lives on the back of like weird, sexy rape fantasy, and like I do not endorse that
Yeah. And that's the
in the
problem.
slightest.
That honestly was one of like the impediments to a lot of anime for most people. It's like they only heard about that and hentai, and it's like we both begrudgingly are like acknowledge that existence and don't like it. And there's also other anime that doesn't really do that, and it often
Yeah.
gives sullies the image of it. It has since
Hmm.
changed quite a bit, but that again, I don't want to get too far off the deep end, but it does get better. Anime has been getting cleaner in that regard, or maybe not cleaner,
Yes.
but healthier in that regard. And there's a
If
point to it with Dantadan. So
yeah,
it,
and
yeah,
one of the takes that I've heard before too is like the same species, the Serpoans, also attempted to do this to Bokaroon, and I don't think that was depicted in the same detail. I think that there were problems with that too, but at the
agreed.
very least, like the fact that the author can allow Momo to like become a much more powerful version of herself and take down the threat, like I think that art can be like shocking and provocative and still
Mm-hmm.
say something. I don't know.
For
Anime, like this could be an episode unto itself. How
100
like
exactly like
sexual assault is depicted in anime,
I
but
agree. I agree. Like it's its own thing, but I think your point is valid. Like I would like to add and say that if there's a, I think art can be provocative and shocking as such. There just has to be a point, and I think Don
yeah,
Don does make that point as the show goes on.
does.
One thing that I do love is that the aliens and spirits and all the occultish material are one and the same. I
Hmm.
love it when shows like Don Don, Masters of the Universe kind of combine that world of sorcery and science.
Yes.
It's one of my favorite things. There's another show that I didn't write down that I would totally recommend as well to everybody. Is like one of my friends who I go to and see at the Star Trek convention. He recommended me to watch The Librarians. So there's 3 movies starring Noah Weil, and then like a TV series which is 4 seasons. And I'm just about to finish it, and I started it like a month ago. Like that's how good it was. I got sick. I watched all 3 movies, and then I've been watching, and it's like every episode is just a dream because it takes you meet Sun Wukong, you see other types of cryptids that show up.
Hmm.
the Minotaur from Theseus's venture in the labyrinth. Everything imaginable shows up out there, and they go across the world. There's characters that it's such a love letter to science and humanities because like a couple of the characters speak like 10 languages and stuff like that, have multiple degrees and go around. It's also directed by Jonathan Frakes, who was Captain Commander Riker and stuff like that. Also, the director or the creator of the show also wrote like Independence Day and the Stargate movie. So it's like it's got that lineage of writing talent and directing talent, and it's a great show that does an awesome job of combining myth and legend. Like you find out how vampires started, you find out how
Oh, yeah.
God, what was the second one? The second one was King Solomon's Mines. Like everything kind of gets thrown in. It's a great show to watch for sure.
I gotta check that one out.
I recommend it. I'm surprised. I'm sad that I haven't told you about it until now, but it's really really good. Yeah. So just a couple things I want to really hit quick is that so obviously around it with the same types of people that kind of fit this Venn diagram, you're going to have probably a bunch of games, card games, arts, memes, arts. God damn it, like the Facebooks and everything. Art, memes, card games, and stuff that kind of foster into this community as well. I'm sure there's a ton on Kickstarter. I'm sure you have a bunch right behind
I
you.
do. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have any like greatest hits that you would recommend on the top of your head?
Well, I think like MetaZoo is a controversial figure. Like, say, whenever we talk about card games,
Mhm.
that is the big one. There's another one that's kind of emerging now called Cryptid Camp, and MetaZoo is making a comeback. But like, that's kind of a neat little like part of the community that grew up playing Pokemon. They're like, what if Pokemon were cryptids?
Which is pretty
Um,
baller. I love that idea.
yeah, there's some
Yeah.
cool designs in there, and one thing I really like about MetaZoo is that it originally like championed independent artists, like the creator sought out artists on social media who weren't really like getting the same work for card games or things like
Sure.
starting budding artists and then like really elevated them, and now they're still making art for the game and being hired for like jobs with the new card games, which is really
Beautiful.
cool to see. And like on that note too, so like the thing I like the most about going to the Mothman Festival and similar kind of like cryptid festivals is the art vendors. You will have so many different like depictions of each cryptid. It's a real celebration of like everyone's got a favorite one. And if you do, chances are there's probably art for it there, or like jewelry or shirts, or like, it's a really great excuse for a bunch of folks who like to draw like cute or unnerving things or like cryptids or monsters to sell their work. And yeah, like I've alluded to it too, getting to be associated with state. So like there's tons of like depictions of Mothman hanging out at Dollar General and eating pepperoni rolls, drinking Mountain Dew at these things, which are all very West Virginia, or like you could probably like translate it to a lot of other southern places. Missouri, I bet, has a ton of that too.
Gooey butter cake is probably eaten. Yeah.
Oh,
Uh,
gooey better cake, so good.
it is good. Just don't have it every day. That's all.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It really speaks to going to conventions too and just buying art there and seeing like there is talent out there. I just often whenever I hear people say like, "Oh, there's no more talent out there," I was like, I really feel that it's not being serviced properly. And
Hmm.
some of the best parts about going to conventions is just hitting up Artist Alley, both like the
Yeah.
drawings and like the 3D stuff. And when I say 3D, I mean like either stuff they've put together as a sculpture or like the 3D printing or et cetera, et cetera. It's so much fun to see that because you see the level of care and ingenuity that kind of goes into it. Right behind, I mean, granted, right behind me is just like is a picture of like the Cowboy Bebop air jets and like docking bay for the Bebop crew. To my right is a beaded ironed on Yusuke Urameshi. To my left is a really cute girl, which is, most of the reason I bought it, made like a bobblehead.
No shade.
Not at all. Thank you. Made a bobblehead version of Gojo. There are beautiful things that are being made by people at these conventions. It's just this,
Hmm.
and honestly, most of the time, people are just happy that you come out and kind of talk to them and just be like, yeah, like,
Yeah,
hey, we share this common interest. Like, let's just jam for a minute.
sure.
Had two questions for you, or a couple questions for you left. How much has this changed your YouTube algorithm?
I would say it goes by the season. I mentioned the ADHD, so it fully depends on what I am like fixated on at the moment.
Mhm.
There have been a lot of times where I get like constant flooding of different things. So like Dr. Emily Zarka of Monstrum, I got a lot of her videos. Love her. Check her out.
That's
Shout
a
out to Dr. Zarka.
great, great name. My God,
Yeah, right.
what a cool
Um,
name.
then I like Cryptids Across the Map or Atlas, I believe it's called. There's like a number of podcasts that are great too. So that's been in my algorithm lately. I think I'm back into like the D&D space slash health slash journaling.
Did
But it could rise up again.
I bet like is this also part of the reason why you like Jackie Chan Adventures as much as I do? I don't know if you. Well, I don't know. Have we ever talked about this?
We have, yeah. I always thought to myself like the zodiac elements and the oh man,
Shendu,
the
Shadow Khan, Oni masks.
the Tony Mask are cool. I'm
Yeah,
thinking like the talisman, that's what they're called, right?
yeah.
Like the power of the talisman. What kid didn't want like the talisman with their Chinese zodiac on it, right? I love that spiritual
So
like
much.
magic element. Like that stuff thrilled me as a kid.
Me too. I mean, that's why my mom made them for me on clay, which
Yeah.
every time I'm
Those are
feeling a
sick.
certain thank you. She's very happy to hear that, trust me. Every time I'm feeling a type of way, I take out whatever talisman and just touch it and be like, hopefully this will fucking help.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because like they run into a lot of cryptids as they go on the show, like La Chupacabra. Like Jackie's running away from the La Chupacabra.
That's true, yeah.
They sprinkled some. They focused mainly on the talismans and the One masks and the immortal symbols and stuff like that. But it's very timely that I saw the clip today on my YouTube recommended. That was kind of crazy. It really fit into today's conversation.
Hmm.
Even the Monkey King shows up there in a couple episodes. So like, yeah, I feel like that really has credence to what we're talking about.
It really gets into a lot of like the local and broader cultural things of the characters, which is really cool and honestly neat to have like advertised to children. Like for me,
I loved
growing
it.
up in growing up in Appalachia, like that was one of my first exposures to like a lot of Chinese folklore or like I didn't really understand Chinese medicine until I heard Uncle talking a little bit about it or making this goofy reference. And at the time, I thought it was just like, oh, weird old man. But then when you hear like, oh no, what he was doing was actually this practice,
Yeah,
I'm like,
like
oh whoa.
I believe your partner who is of Chinese descent would agree that he is, and I would say that he is still a weird old man. There's no doubt
Oh
about
yeah.
that at all. But like, mung beans are great for digestion. That's very true. Uh,
Yeah.
I love that too because it you hit it right on the head. It exposes people to a lot of stuff that connects to people, and I think that's the whole
Hmm.
point of this. That would be a great point to end on, but I do have a couple more. Have you ever heard of The Long Walk as a book?
No.
Okay, so this is kind of a weird anecdote. I've never really talked about it too much outside of this about the time that the anecdote happened. It was 12th or 11th grade, and it was a history class. It was basically like a world events, global history. It takes place like right after World War II to today and whatnot. And so we was talking mainly about I think we were talking about the USSR. And there was a guy who escapes from the USSR, makes it all the way to India, and was they trying either was asked or was had the opportunity for a book deal. And he said he would write it so long as he could write a section about the Yeti.
Oh my
Uh,
God.
yeah, and the guy is somewhere either in the Eastern Bloc or whatever, and I don't know how much of the book talks about him, but I know at least a chapter is on him and just how he survived that incredibly long journey.
Hmm.
Uh, it also makes me think like and wonder if the Yeti is because like the Yeti is something that's popped up a lot. I talked to a friend about this who was curious about this, not this subject in particular, but just about like why we have such a fascination with Sasquatch and what another
Hmm.
kind of cryptids about what it could be misinterpreted as. Like a pit. I actually was talking to this is my friend Chris who's been on the show before too, and he was talking about how there may have been that missing link that we came into contact so much of and saw as like a natural competitor, which is why it kind of makes us uneasy and everything like that, which I thought was
Yeah.
interesting. However, do you think he's a cousin of Bigfoot?
I think, if we go the full cryptozoology route, like a lot of people would say yes. If you go, like, let's explore, like, the underpinnings of this creature and why people think he's real. Like, so this is where I will admit, like, I don't know a whole lot, and I would,
Yeah.
like, refer you to somebody from the culture to, like, explain a little bit more. But, um, I really like the show Reservation Dogs on Hulu.
I've seen
Like,
clips. It looks really good.
it's very
Yeah.
good.
Bobby Lee randomly shows up as the
So
doctor in that show. It's very weird.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is. So they have like an episode where they talk about Tall Man, which is it's Bigfoot, but like from the native standpoint, like cryptids are spirits, and Tall Man is actually like a classic one. So like one could take this into account too, where it's like something that's been in the native kind of like taxonomy for the longest time is then encountered by like settlers,
Mm-hmm.
colonizers, and then turn into something else.
How does the story change?
So
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
exactly. So like, I would say the character of Bigfoot versus the Yeti is very similar in a lot of ways, and the root of it could be very different because we're getting into like the Himalayan culture and a lot of like
Right.
standpoints of that. Like the reason that it exists could rhyme with the reason we tell tales about Bigfoot over here, but still have its own
Bigfoot over
unique
there.
flair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. Do you remember the Yeti in Monsters Inc. that really
Oh yeah.
needed more screen time? That dude was like one of the best parts
Hmm.
of that movie, and he just gets shafted for like 10 minutes. I was, he's
Yeah.
like, "Hey guys, how's it going? You want some ice cool pops?" I fucking loved him. I
Yeah.
was so sad.
It's
Yeah,
hilarious.
and then he just disappears. Like, "Oh yeah, you can go down the town down there," and I'm like, "We're not going to talk about him again." What the? Yeah, it was
Hmm.
ridiculous.
He appears again in Monsters University, and we get a
Does
sense
he?
of like why he was exiled. Yeah.
What was he exiled for? For being annoying or what?
I think he was in the mailroom and did something he shouldn't have, and he's like, "Careful with storing the mail. That's how you get exiled."
Oh, okay. That explains a lot.
Yeah.
And the last point I had, which is one you texted me last night about to be like, I don't know what this is, or you didn't say that, but you were laughing at it.
Yeah.
So there's a theory that the Loch Ness monster is just a whale dick that's just flopping around that people have caught their eye on. And I was wondering if
Oh.
you had heard about that. That's all.
Oh man, I'm curious about that. That's a great theory, great take. You
you're gonna look
know,
at your search history, just see whale dicks all over the place.
I am, and I'm going to search like, does Loch Ness connect to the sea? Is it saltwater or freshwater? This is outside my
Ooh,
knowledge.
buddy, but
But I mean,
crypto senses are
in a lot
tingling.
of lakes, the cryptid senses are tingling. In a lot of lakes, there's always like some sort of like lake monster, right? And
Yeah,
more often than not, it could be a really big catfish because those things they get huge. Like that could be considered a local cryptid too.
it's wild. How big do you know how big they get off the top of your head?
Man, like big enough to like consume your forearm.
Oh,
So
that's kind
like
of crazy.
imagine, yeah, quite large, quite large. It depends on the space of the container, just like with goldfish naturally.
Oh, okay, yeah. Interesting. Wow.
I grew up hearing stories about like shark-sized catfish that, you'd have to look it up. I do know they can get quite big. Like,
Sure.
I see pictures of fishermen holding them up with both arms, like that
Oof.
level.
The only question I
But
have to that is like, is that in their dating profile picture?
it better be. That's like maybe the one successful use of the fishing photo being like, I caught the local cryptid.
Oh boy. Oh boy. I feel like that's probably the best way to end the podcast because I don't have anything to top that.
Nothing
Um,
can.
I don't think anything can. This has been a lot of fun. I got to not only
Yeah.
know a lot about the topic, but I got to know you a little bit more, which is pretty dope. So thank you.
I had a great time. I really appreciate you having me on. And
Yeah.
ironically, like when I looked at the invite, it's almost been a year since the last time I was on the podcast. So, like, happy almost 1 year.
Oh my goodness, you're totally right because we did my Japan episode that you interviewed me for, and actually a year ago today, I would have been flying back around now.
Yeah, I think it was November
Whoa.
4th that we were recording, so it's getting
Yeah, a
close.
couple weeks difference. That's crazy. Yeah, we're recording on the 19th, but okay. Well, hell, thank you. Thank you anniversary for
Yeah.
you. Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, good work and please come
I
back.
gotcha. Oh yeah. We'll talk again. Maybe we'll have a Gravity Falls episode.
Yes, please do. Okay, bye.
Later, man.
Hey, fan peeps. Thanks for listening, and I'd love any feedback you have for me. Please follow the Facebook page, They Need a Hobby, and follow us everywhere, social media wise, under the handle at TNAHpod. That goes for Twitter and Instagram, and one of these days, I'll be super popular.